Hello and welcome to the Knock On KCLR and Scoreline.ie's weekly rugby podcast. We're joined by Tom Crotty from Carlow, Johnny Tobin from Tullow, and I'm afraid to say it's the last in the current series. We'll call this series one. It's been a long old year. We've went right from last season through the Lions tour in the summer and back into the local and provincial stuff and right through this year as well. But this will be the last one until the Southeast League kicks off again locally in a couple of months' time in the summer. So we will be back for season two, and I hope you will join us then. But for now, it's the big one this weekend. We're all talking about. We're recording this on a Friday, so we're previewing Leinster against La Rochelle, which is at tomorrow, Saturday, in Marseille. The weather, lads, over there is meant to be absolutely scaldy out the door. Perfect conditions for supporters and everything as well. Leinster have named their team. La Rochelle have named their team as well. Leinster were, I suppose, favourites. They've been talked about it as favourites as well, but with plenty to talk about. I don't think it's going to be as easy as people think against La Rochelle. Ronan O'Gara isn't an idiot.
He's definitely not that, yeah. Well, I wouldn't say anyone thinks it's easy. Sure, the semi-final last year, La Rochelle beat Leinster.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be imagining anyone think it's easy, but it'll make an interesting game, and it's definitely the two best teams in the competition going forward. So at least we're going to have an exciting final, if anything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I hope it's as everything is expected and it goes to plan, that it's going to be an exciting final, because there's nothing worse than to get into a final and have the anticlimax, and that can go either way. But I personally think it's Leinster's to lose. It really is this year. Absolutely 100% Leinster's to lose. Yeah. I think they're just so strong across the board, and to be able to name the same team again with no injuries is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
It's a remarkable feat, Tom, to do that. Like you said, for the La Rochelle semi-final last year, we were missing Johnny, we were missing Gibson Park, were we, or Luke, and we were missing
a good few, yeah.
Yeah, a good few lads out of that. That's the attrition of a season, but Leinster have managed that really, really well. It's one of the things Leinster getting known for now is this rotation. Like, look what Leinster were able to do by putting out a team against Munster that had none of those Heineken Cup lads on it. So, I suppose it's testament to the management of the players and how many players have used. 60 players were saying last week that Leinster have used this season, which is incredible.
There's 60 players, and out of that 60, there's only 6 non-homegrown players, which is it's the most phenomenal feat to any team in the world. There's absolutely nowhere in the world has the same. It's just the French are bewildered by it, the English are bewildered by it, the Kiwis are bewildered by it. The last time I think it was Williams Williams, the ex-Irish or ex-Leinster coach,
Matt Williams.
Matty
was coming up with the fact that he was asked lately, was it in New Zealand, and he said he cannot remember. He said the last time he thinks that a New Zealand club side was strong with all homegrown players from their region was back when John Lomu played for the Auckland Blues.
Wow.
So if you think about Kiwis, the New Zealanders are bringing in, the Islanders come in. They're coming in when they're young, when they're 16, 17 years of age. They're coming into their, they're coming off the islands, coming in. So they're not actually born and bred, whereas, Leinster are 100% born and bred. Like, it's just a phenomenal feat. There's nowhere, to find a club side, soccer or anything, and come back to me and tell me that there's a club side can field 60 players on their first team, on their senior team, and have only 6 non-homegrown players on there. It's just, it's a credit. It's a credit to the country, credit to the Leinster setup. It's scarily phenomenal.
Yeah, and being successful while doing that too, Tom, is also a feat in itself. The Leinster are incredibly, touch wood, successful so far. Well, there's no cups or trophies won yet, but all the all the work is done there. Like, Leinster, like you said, tomorrow will have no excuses. But to get over the line possibly tomorrow with that many young lads that are from the area and everything is, it's pretty proud thing to have as well.
Well, it is, and I say, I mean, you have. I just hope that it is a game and that O'Gara has come up with a plan of some sort to try and hold back Leinster, because if they haven't, it could be a serious amount of points put on a team in a final. Like, they're missing Carlow, they're missing Victor Vito. That's two of their key players, especially in that spine of a team which we're talking about. Like, that's their main scrum half. If Thomas Burfon, I think it is, coming in, like, he's an inexperienced scrum half. I mean, that's like putting Craig Casey in there for the Heineken, throwing like Craig Casey in for a Heineken Cup final. They're lacking. There's lacking experience. I don't know. Across the board, I mean, they have a heavier pack. They have a massive pack, but that doesn't seem to faze Leinster anymore, because once they hold them up, and once the scrums are anyway tight around the park, it's going to be, unless at the breakdown, where you have Greg Alders, and those will be really, 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 really strong at the breakdown and could try and slow it down. You'll have Will Skelton coming in, like a barrel coming at you, bulldozer coming in, but they don't. Like, how long are they going to last? You said it earlier, Stephen. It's going to be a roasting hot day. I know, like, Leinster aren't particularly used to playing in sunshine, but they're young and they're fit, and there's a big difference between running around carrying 20-something plus stone, and carrying 18 stone.
Yeah.
And I don't care. Like, how long can the scrums last? If Leinster can play, unless O'Gara has had a way to slow. Johnny, like, you're coaching long enough to know when you're trying to. If you come up against a team that has electric pace and is running at 100 miles an hour, it's really hard to figure out how to slow them down, and the breakdown is the only method.
Yeah, and I think La Rochelle can do that, though, because they have serious breakdown operators, and if they get in over the ball for even a split second, it just slows down Sexton and Gibson Park more so than anyone else, because he's just a live wire. He can go anywhere. So if you can slow him down for a second or two, like, you're really taking pace off Leinster's game. But that might suit them tomorrow, because it also then gets them a chance to set up. And whereas La Rochelle are that little bit heavier, that little bit less fit, I would say, they won't get around the park as quick as Leinster will, even with that 1 or 2 seconds as time wears on. In the 50th and 60th minutes, you'll see a change of tempo. I think Leinster will run away with it then, if we're going off that kind of platform. Like, unless O'Gara has a master plan in his back pocket, which I can't see, because you can't plan for Leinster. 60 players all year. How do you plan for a Leinster team?
Yeah, good point. We spoke to Ed Byrne, lads, last year after Leinster won the URC, and we were talking about the loss to La Rochelle in that semi-final, and he spoke about how much it hurt. And already then the lads were concentrating on this year. They were already focused, and their minds had already switched to that revenge for this year. And it just so happened it was La Rochelle that they're going to come up against in a final. They were hurt at the breakdown physically and everything as well. We all know that was well documented as well. But Ed always said that this current team that they have to win it. They have this. If they're ever going to do it, they need to do it with this team. So there's a bit of pressure on Leinster as well. Like, even us looking in, like, look at this team that they have. Jeez, if they don't win it this year, what are they up to after the year they've had? And they were going well last year as well when they got to that semi-final.
Yeah, I don't know.
For sure,
It's a massive ask for Leinster, but I mean, would people say that this is the best Leinster team ever, as a whole package? Like,
I would.
There hasn't been player for player. Like, it is basically the Irish team, because there isn't, and it's a scary thing, and it's no offense to anyone. It's no offense to Munster or Ulster or Connacht. Find me the players that are going to make their way through, like, would make onto the Leinster team, would make onto or you might have one, maybe two from Munster at the most. Absolutely, like, there is nobody in the Munster back row that is going to compete against Leinster. There's nobody in the front row. Leinster have the two best hookers. Probably could be the two best hookers in Europe. How it's a scary thing. Like I said it earlier about the amount of players that are being developed. Johnny, you were a huge part of the Southeast setup and bringing teams through. You know all the work and everything that goes through from ground, from the grassroots. It's where they have such a panel at the moment coming in, and I'm not hyping them up just for the sake of hyping because we want Leinster to win, but it's pound for pound. They're serious team.
And look who's missing as well. If Hugo Keenan in there, full back, Jimmy O'Brien on the wing, but Jordan Larmour came back last week and he had an absolute stormer of a match. I know he's been in and out of form, but it wouldn't be the end of the world if he came in and replaced Jimmy O'Brien, for argument's sake. Hugo Keenan's got ample replacements there as well. You take out, it's the subs as well as the huge thing. You take out Porter, Furlong and Kelleher, and look who you have coming on.
Here you are now, Dan Shane Keane, Michael
Alatoa.
That's a front row that any country would be happy enough having,
Yeah, Joe McCarthy's getting in there because of his form over the likes of Ryan Baird. Ryan Baird's back from injury and that as well, and he's flying it, but he still can't get his way onto that team. They're trusting Joe with that. Rhys Ruddock, sure, we know what Rhys can do. Ross Byrne, Kieran Frawley, Harry Byrne had a savage match against Munster last week as well, so yeah, I think it's the best team Leinster have ever had.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah, but the only thing with Ryan Beard and Jordan Larmour is they haven't had much game time.
Oh yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
They had serious form. They had serious form against Munster, but I don't know. Can you judge a player off that game either? Is it enough to get into this team? Joe McCarthy's have serious form. Jimmy O'Brien's been playing really well all season. He's getting his 50th cap this weekend.
Jenny, that's a lot
he's flying
it. Yeah.
He's had 50 caps already this season. He probably had 4 or 5 last season, and the rest of them have been all this season.
Yeah,
he's been flying it, So I don't know. I think it's a strong, very very strong team. I don't know if I'd say it's the best ever Leinster team, but it's definitely
pound for pound.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's the best.
Honestly, I went back looking, and I was just looking because we were having an argument over this with somebody else. And,
a discussion, Tom.
Discussion. No, I got kind of heated over players, but that's what happens then. Yeah. But I mean, you also had. We're going back to when Johnny Sexton was 20 years, or nearly 20 years younger. He was almost 20 years younger. It'd be nice to Johnny.
I was going to say he's not 40 yet, is he?
No, he'd be almost. You know what I mean? But you're going back to a young out half who was probably hot-headed and Jesus. In the last 10 years, he's just developed, and I was actually Brian O'Driscoll said the other day, that he, even him becoming a father and having, it's changed his whole demeanor when he's out there. He's just a calm, he's still narky.
Sure,
he's still the most narky. Probably is definitely, I think you just allow all out has and scrum has are just narky feckers anyway. So
yeah.
But I mean, he's still aggressive. He's still narky, but it's so controlled. He's just a totally, I think, a more mature player. So again, Johnny's one of the few left from that side. I mean, pound for pound, the rest of them are serious operators. Only for take O'Driscoll. I don't think there's as many players of quality in one team put together, and then the bench as well. And it's not even, as you say, it's not just the bench. It's what's waiting there and behind the curtains, waiting for their chance to jump through. So I think it's.
We did a glimpse of that last weekend as well. Again,
just look at him there. If you were looking back at the 09 team, is Ross Maloney the best second row in Leinster compared to the 09 second rows? Is Caelan Doris now a fantastic player, but is he Rocky Elson quality?
Or Jamie Heaslip even?
Yeah, he's going to be, but is he yet? So I wouldn't say it's the best Leinster team yet.
He's not far off Heaslip, but he's not as good as
Heaslip. I suppose one thing they have to do is they have to win the Heineken Cup, and 2 they have to do back to back, because if you're going to be
the best, you have to do better than others.
To be the best, you have to do better. So
6 stars.
But on paper, I think it's just a phenomenal team.
Mm-hmm.
Then my other question, just seeing the team going across there, Like I think Hugo Keane is a great player, but is he standard as Rob Kearney? Rob Kearney from 2009 to 2012 was an incredible fullback. He was European Player of the Year in 2012. 3 Heineken Cups at that stage. Do you know?
Yeah, he was a great year that year.
He can be that quality, but I wouldn't say it's the best Leinster team. I would definitely say it's the best Leinster setup at the moment.
Yeah.
And I suppose we can say, look, it's a different style of play. It's a totally different style of play to
that's the other side, yeah.
But I mean,
if you take the local player element, as Tom said, the depth, and then match them up against the 09 team, the 11 team, the 12 team, you know, overall they're a much stronger team.
Well, there's 23 players and 3 would be nice to, but there's 3 non-homegrown players out of the 20. So there's 20 homegrown players playing in a Heineken Cup final.
Yeah.
Which are not the homegrown now.
James Law, Jameson,
even though he's Irish qualified, yeah.
No, but I'm talking about home, as in Byrne, Bray, Leinster.
Well, you may go to 4 then, because Robbie Henshaw's from Connacht.
Well, he's from Westmeath. He's Leinster.
He played all his rugby and all his academy rugby in Connacht.
They played in Buccaneers.
But still where you're, but with Byrne and Bray,
you know,
they're still Leinster based.
Yeah. No, I get it. Look, I just wouldn't think they're the best Leinster team ever.
This is so you get in.
And you could get hours out of this, Tom.
We're all grand, so we're all grand here, and it's to say, like, I have a cup of coffee, but put it in when you've a few pints on the top, it comes heated.
Well, I'll only be arguing with the wall at home anyway, so it'll be grand.
Like it's like comparing even the coaching ticket, you know, Michael Cheika to Leo and Stewart, or Joe Schmidt to Leo.
Yeah, there's no comparison to Michael Cheika and Leo Cullen.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's differences.
Michael Cheika is a nut job.
Yeah, but he put a lot of the work together to get Leinster where they eventually went, I think.
To see the thing is I can't remember, because the Independent somewhere Stuart Lancaster had said that if
Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, if Jurgen Klopp can stay with Liverpool for 16 odd years, whatever, there's no reason they can't. So
it's great to see
if that's a hint on anything going forward, look, it's great for Leinster and great for Irish rugby, because I think Stuart Lancaster is a legend, absolute.
He is gentleman as well.
And I think Leo Cullen, and in fairness, you don't have to be like he's a manager. He's doing what he does best. He's a manager. You don't have to be the best coach at times. Like everybody says, you know, it's Leo Cullen head coach, but it's not. It's Leo Cullen the manager. It's Leo, that person who can put everything together and to bring in. And I know he's only like he's a major part in that cog, that whole setup. And he picked, like, to have the likes of Stuart Lancaster coming in there and everybody else that's in that backroom team that he has. Like, that's what you call a quality manager. And it's the same. It doesn't matter what. You have to have a great backroom team behind you. And Leo Cullen has just put that together.
He picked I think he should get all the credit because of what he's picked and how he's picked it. Like Felipe
Conte. That's the same, Johnny. You don't have to be the best.
Yeah.
You don't have to be the best coach. It's not saying that Leo Cullen is the best coach. Leo Cullen may not be the best coach, but he's a bloody good person. You need that person.
Yeah, he's organised the best coach and ticket.
Bring the whole thing together.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a huge thing to have.
Yeah, Rob Kearney in his book had absolute high praise for him. He got a couple of years under Leo when Leo became manager, and he said he just has a way about him. He carries this huge amount of respect from the players and everything. He's a great man manager. You know, very, very blunt, very, very blunt, but you know exactly where you stand. It's almost, what did Rob say in the book? It was almost like that person. It's not that he'd never give you a bollocking as such, but it'd be like, you know, when your parents said to you, I'm just disappointed, sort of stuff. He'd make you feel bad after a chat, but you go back out and you give it socks the next time, and you know, that sort of thing. He says he wasn't one of these shouty kicking bags around people, but he'd plant seeds in your head the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, he'd make you a better player for it.
On the other hand, then, like, you have O'Gara, who's worked his way up through the ranks. I mean, he is one of Ireland's greatest out half, and always will be. A phenomenal player in his day, and his control, his understanding of the game back then, and how to run it, how to run and control the game. And it's, whether I'm going to kick a long kick or a kick for touch, whether can I control hold? I don't want that ball yet. I don't want that ball. I'll take it now. Now we'll go for a drop goal. All those things, and then his time learning in France, and then to go and be accepted in New Zealand. That's a massive thing to go down to the Crusaders, and he's had massive experience there. To come back up, I'm sure Ron O'Gara would love to have the quality and the youth that Leinster, and with the players that are available to Leinster, he doesn't have. He has a serious team, and they're very competitive in France. And we've got to remember, this is his third. This was his fourth final. Is his third or fourth final since he's gone in?
Yeah,
third, I think.
Third, right? So
isn't that crazy?
It's his third final now.
Mm-hmm.
We'll all hope that the results go the same as the other two. But, no offense, Raj, I know, but it's they've lost two finals, but he's got into the final, the top 14. He's got to the final at the Heineken Cup within a short space of time. That's massive thing.
Beat Leinster in the semis last year. It was incredible. So
and it is, and he did. Now there was probably, you said it earlier, Johnny, that they were missing. Leinster were missing a couple of players, we're missing a few players last year. But that's the same as any team. When you come, you still have to prepare. It's like Munster saying, people going, "Oh, Munster should beat Leinster last weekend." That didn't happen. So you can't judge it, especially when you're coming into the cup semi-finals and the cup final. But I just hope he has enough up his sleeves to give it the game that this deserves, because you have the best team in France, one of the best teams in Europe, playing, to me, the best team in Europe. So I think let's hope it lives up to expectation.
Yeah. Well, O'Gara has experience too in European Cups. He's the highest point scorer in European history. 1,440 or 1,460, I think he has in the competition. And also winning two of them. So he has experience there. Same as Leo, I suppose. But I don't know. I just can't see them having that to disrupt Leinster fully. I can see him slowing the game down, all right, but I just can't. I can't see him winning the Heineken Cup final unless he moves to Leinster. Maybe we are looking for a lad now. Felipe Contemoni is going.
Absolutely, Leinster's speed and attack and their rush defence and everything as well. It's just, I don't think Rochelle can live with that. And I think
it's more their trust though than anything else.
Yeah.
I think it's more their trust in their squad. Everyone trusts each other. You see them, lads, like James Lowe on the outside, he's get questioned on defence, but he also has a trust on his inside that he knows he can bite, because he knows the lad on the inside is going to make that hit for him. So he'll bite, and very rarely to get punished. Very, very rarely to get punished for a lad biting, and that's extreme to have, because if you're coaching a team or you're watching a team and a lad bites up in defence and leaves a gap, it's going to get exploited. But very rarely that happens to Leinster, and that comes to trust.
Yeah, they only. I mean, to be honest, as I said, they only have what's his name? The Dante in the centre. The Jonathan Dante, he played really well for France this year. He's up against Robbie Henshaw. But there is key players there that the Leinster are going to have to watch. I mean, Will Skipton is going to take putting down. Doesn't matter. But but again, he's not fit. He's been out injured. So he's a big man and playing in heat.
He'll be blown.
Do you know what? I admire the fact. I really admire the fact that O'Gara has put a belief back into a French team that the Champions Cup.
He really has built a culture,
but it means something to them. You have a team there that actually this means something. They're not just coming. They're not just going to travel to a team for the crack, or just they're still looking at the top 14. I mean, he could have gone last weekend, and he went out and played a team that they won last weekend as well. So they're still giving themselves a chance in the top 14, and it took a risk, but they still believe, and his own team believe that the Heineken Cup is still a massive tournament and needs, and that's great. It's a pity more teams didn't, more French teams didn't buy into that. We can go back to the fact, they need to win. They need to win. It'll be interesting to see actually the Challenge Cup finals on tonight, and that's two French teams. I hope Lyon.
7:30, I think it's Tom.
Yeah, I hope Lyon win, because Lyon have never won anything in Europe. Toulon again. It'll be a boss. It's a money team, and I'd like to see Lyon give it a belt, but I think probably Toulon are too strong.
Johnny, do you think Leinster's issues with the scrum over the last couple of matches will cause them any grief tomorrow?
I can't see it. To be honest with you, I really can't see it. Andrew Porter, Tyke Furlong, 2 best props in the world, 2 of the best props in the world. And then what they have behind them, like with Doris and Van der Fleer pushing behind them, Maloney and James Ryan. James Ryan is probably nearly back to his best, not back to his best confidently, but definitely back to his best physically. I can't see them being an issue tomorrow, not like what they were last year anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Against La Rochelle last year, they were bullied in the scrum and bullied in the breakdown. Like I just think Leinster's tails are up and their confidence is there, and I just think any physical aspect of the game they're going to try and dominate as early as possible. So I could actually see a lot of scrum penalties for Leinster in this game.
Right. Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Porter have it up against him though. Uni Antonio is about 4 stone heavier. he's
also about a foot taller though.
Yeah.
A tall tight head is a very awkward tight head for a smaller loose head. It's awkward for him to get his binds right and stuff. So I think Porter can get an edge there.
Has Porter dropped any weight since he went loose head?
Nothing that would affect him there, but he could probably do it tomorrow. 4 stone heavier on top of the back of your neck. It's not simple.
Yeah, but again, Johnny, it's like we said that's going to be, how long can that last? I know they have another front row, but their area is good, and I mean Porter. That's like Furlong and Porter, and those can actually stay on. They stayed on the pitch for like 60 minutes the last time, which is massive.
Yeah,
you imagine there you're blowing against Porter for 60 minutes, then Keane Healy walks on. Like now, Keane Healy's game is just really scrummaging. That's just his game now. Yeah. He's a little bit haunted it. He's not as much ball carrying. He's tipping on the ball a lot more than he was carrying. And all he's really doing now is scrummaging. And he's doing it really, really well. So after 60 minutes of Andrew Porter,
it was a good buy getting Alatoa back in, get buying Michael Alatoa too, because
he's a very good scrummager.
He is, and a good player on
and a very good ball carrier.
Yeah.
To be fair,
I can't wait. I really can't wait.
Looking forward to it now.
It's not too often now. Look, the clubhouse.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun day now. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to having a look at it.
I'd love to.
Oh, you have a big day, Tom, don't you?
Yeah. Anyone around Carlow wants to come in, gates are open from the bars open from 4. Plenty of burgers, barbecue. I think it's been nice weather too. So when the match is not on, we'll be outside having the best Guinness in town as well. Sorry, anyone else? But
I'll be home, a bottle in my hand.
Other drinks are also available.
Other drinks are also available.
Drink responsibly.
Yes, I better say that. Drink responsibly.
Drink responsibly.
I'll be very responsible tomorrow. But no, look.
You're not president anymore, Tom. You can do what you like now.
I am, Johnny. I have 2 tasks left.
Oh.
I have to go over to ye for your opening of the pitch as the Saturday, the bank holiday Saturday.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I was asked to play in the game.
You have a big day there, and so I have to go over. I don't have to go over. It's pleasant. I'm going over for the.
You're being forced over.
I know. I'm going over for the excitement.
Yeah.
You watch Johnny getting knocked
around. It's a social event. I don't know if we're going to. My wife even wants to come over for that. It promises to be good.
That'd be good fun.
So yeah.
Absolutely. So that's it. I'm looking forward to it myself and doing a bit of painting tomorrow and be home well in time for that. Lots on this weekend sports-wise as well, so it's great. I don't know. I just feel this final with Leinster is sort of non-negotiable to go over there and not win. I think mentally that's where they're going with it. It just feels like that anyway. With the team they have and all. So looking forward to it. Like you said, Tom, a bit of a contest as well. But sure, once it hits 60, then we'll empty the bench and we'll tear away with it then.
Oh, Jesus, I hope it's better. I tell you, I hope it's better than last. I hope it's better than last weekend because we opened the bar.
Oh, and just laughing. I remember you saying there it would be like putting an inexperienced scrum half in like Craig Casey in a Heineken Cup final. By the time Craig Casey gets to a Heineken Cup final, he'll be well experienced. You don't have to worry. I'm thinking about that there, just pure in my head there.
Well, I tell you, it was last week was just poor, really poor.
We're talking about Munster, Leinster, and the URC, folks.
But you can't blame. I think there's something. There's something wrong, and it's not. We're not going back to Munster. Haven't suddenly become crap since the match previous against Toulouse. Like, and it's just something missing there. I don't know. Like everything, they should have beat. I mean, there's no offense to Leinster on that one, but they should have beaten Leinster. They had him so many times at periods of the game where if it was any other Munster team would have said smelt blood and just would have gone for it. But they
didn't have that going. Yeah,
nothing.
They got up for the Heineken Cup, but they couldn't get it up for that match. Just it didn't seem. That's how it appeared to me. Anyway, it didn't seem too. It was very slow and lethargic, and just Leinster were going 100 miles an hour, and Munster were under serious pressure for good parts of that match.
Just terrible. It was it was just shocking. It was, and it's not putting down. There's something corely wrong. It's not that the players aren't there. There's none of those players are bad players. Like, it's not as if you just got 15 lads off to the side of the road, threw them on a bus and brought them up and threw them out in the Aviva. Like, they're 15 quality players. There's not a player there that hasn't quality. Do you know?
And strange. Maybe you know, obviously being a follower, but it's the last time Munster competed in a final. Is that 2011?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
I was at that. It was the last Pro 12 final or Magnus League final in Tobin Park. Leinster only after winning the European Cup the week before.
Yeah.
We were all over in Wales.
I don't remember much of that, but that's 11 years since a top province has competed for a final, even just competed in it, and they would be considered a top rugby team.
But that's insane. It's more than it is with Munster. It has to be. It is not just Van Graham and the coach.
Oh, it can't be. Because that's 11 years ago.
This is going on for 11 years, where there's some core issue between how they're developing as a province, where their management system is at, where their grounds, they're from their grassroots level. There's something seriously wrong, because I know. Look, we all say, look, Leinster have a serious predicament. There's a population of 1 million. There's a population of over 1 million people in Dublin. We have with the best rugby schools in the country, all within that area. So there is that advantage of population, and also the amount of money that's put into schools rugby in Leinster.
Yeah, but you still have to find the players.
You have to. There must be players, and I keep harping out with the same crap that if you don't have Munster performing, or Connacht performing, or Ulster performing at the highest level, well, then there's nothing for kids to look up to. So there's kids who have a choice, and this is our sport. Like, we're not here promoting GA or soccer. This is rugby. That's what we play. That's what we talk about. So we look at it and say, where are we going with this? If you don't produce, if the other provinces are not producing and they're not on the top, kids will go to other sports. They'll say there's not the excitement. There's not. I want to play. Put my hand up. I want to play in the red jersey, or I want to play in the green jersey, or I want to play in the white jersey. In Leinster, everybody wants to play in a blue jersey. They all want to, kids from Johnny. You know it. I mean, we're both sending kids to the southeast from the two clubs from the time, and then you're trying to tell kids you're trying to bring their expectations down, because they're all excited about when you put them on the southeast straight away. As soon as they get for a trial for the southeast, they're already.
I think they've made it already.
They're already thinking of a blue jersey. All those kids really want to play, whereas I don't see that that's going to happen in the other provinces, which means we are losing out as a country. We're losing out on players, because you don't know is the next best out half, is the next Brian O'Driscoll in Munster, or is he in Connacht? Where is the next Tyke Furlong going to come out of? He mightn't be in Leinster. He could be over in the west of Ireland, but decides it just doesn't have the inkling, because there's nothing there to really push him on.
Yeah, and what usually happens is Leinster get the blame for that, like it was someone's fault, rather than the other provinces. Sort of like you said, the whole issue with Munster, adapting and doing that. You were talking there about the population base, Tom. Like the population of Leinster is well over 1 million, like you said. But like, look at the population of England, and they have rugby schools, rugby clubs. It's one of their national sports. We're still able to beat them. This little country over here, where GAA is our main sport, then soccer, then rugby. We're still able to beat them in the Six Nations and run rings around them in European competitions and so on and so forth. You know, it's what you do with the players, and the whole structure you have is a huge part of that as well. You know,
I think Munster could be losing out though. I remember in 2009 or 10, whenever I finished school, I was a teacher and school was from Limerick, and we were just chatting about rugby and how big it was in Limerick, and obviously with Thomond Park being there and everything else. You look now, Limerick are competing for a Munster football final. Is that right this weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
yeah.
I never heard of Limerick having a good football team.
I didn't even know
would have
that.
been a hurler, like, you know,
Yeah,
would have
true,
been hurling, like, and now they have really good hurling and football teams, and Cork have really good hurling and football teams. So I think they're losing out to the GA because it's not attractive down there to play rugby anymore.
But it isn't, and that's the thing. Like JP McManus is there, like giving the help along, you know, and he's obviously he's putting money in to help with the structures of things. So if you don't have that, it's back to the same rubbish that we're talking about. They don't have now. Leinster can't keep, because all sports teams and clubs go in cycles.
Mm-hmm.
At some stage, it's like Man United, best team in the world for how many years, and it was, you know, and the players come through and we're getting this, and all of a sudden, like, they're chronic. So teams do go in cycles. So what happens if Leinster go through? Stuart Lancaster retires. There's no new Stuart Lancaster coming in, or the next coach is not quite as good, or the next person is organised.
Matt O'Connor.
So what happens if that happens down the line? Where are we going to look to?
Yeah, well, I thought that too, Tom.
Can't live on one. You can't live on the one. One team can't produce forever.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah,
I thought that a year ago, but I don't see Leinster's trail ending for about maybe 10 years.
But in 10 years' time, Johnny,
I can't see it. Then they could progress further in that 10 years. What players are being produced from even Michaels, Blackrock, just them two alone, even.
Yeah, like it's taken Leinster quite a while to build what they have now as well. It didn't happen.
Yeah,
over
I
2
don't
years.
see them going backwards on it. I really don't, and I did. Yeah. I did a couple of years ago. I was like, this conveyor belt is going to end soon. It can't keep going, but it just keeps on coming.
Well, you see, you have a structure in Dublin that, I mean, it shows, because club rugby in Dublin, kids club rugby, youth rugby in Dublin is absolutely falling apart. You won't have clubs. A lot of the senior clubs don't even have youth systems structures.
Yeah,
anymore.
Because of schools.
You have Wesley at the moment. I think it's Wesley, Wanderers, and Bective have joined together just to get their youths together. As 3 senior clubs have no kids coming through. They all want to go to schools, because in Dublin you have budgets of all those, like, whether people like hearing it or not, there's budgets of well over 100,000 per senior team. Well over it. Like 100,000 is a massive amount of money. There's warm weather training. Clongowes, I know, head off to Portugal on a regular basis to go training. They have the best of coaches coming in. The Leinster Academy boys are now being paid to go into the schools. It's
Tomás O'Leary is director of rugby in Clongowes.
Huge money. Like, how do you compete with? There's under 20s teams with massive budgets. Like, how do you compete outside of that? There is masses of money. If that money dries up, there's an issue. But that's not going to happen in the near future. But where do the rest of the province, because there isn't schools rugby with hundreds of thousands of budgets in Munster or in Connacht. I don't know about Ulster anymore, but I know nothing about Ulster school system. But I know that there's definitely not in the other 2 provinces.
So is it up to the IRFU to sort of help these other provinces then? And
how do they, like, because the way they look at it, IRFU, and no matter what anyone says, it's a business.
Mm-hmm.
And Leinster are giving the most back to the business. So, like, I don't know, it's a strange little world. But, like, Bandon, I just know from Bandon Grammar School there, just from Willie Canavan going down there, they're producing a lot of players into the Leinster or Munster Academy now at the moment. And they would be a relatively small school compared to what's up in Dublin, like, you know. So that's what you're competing with. It's just the unfortunate, I don't know what you'd pronounce it as, geographic probably layout of the country, that all the good or big rugby schools are up this side of the country, and we're reaping the reward of it, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. It's I mean, it's population. It's historic as well. I mean, it's historically that's where the school's rugby has been strongest. Has always been in Leinster, and it's not the IRFU. I presume are giving as much help as they possibly can to us. But John, you are right. If there is a little shining star popping its head up the whole time, you're going to get that little. It's going to appear that
first nudge to everything.
But you're going to appear that way too. It's not always. I mean, you can't. Other provinces can't give out. They have, and you can't buy leagues or buy teams. It has to start from homegrown players, and that's why I love going. You know that I'm mad going down to. I love Thomond Park and always have, but like I can't help but be so proud of a province that can produce all those players homegrown and be so successful. I mean, any rugby player, anybody who's in management, has ever managed a rugby team or coached a rugby team, has to really admire the way that Leinster are at the moment. Their whole setup, it is a business, Johnny. It's totally.
And if we were back in 2008 and 2007 and 6, we'd be having this discussion. But if we got the other way around, it'd be
what's wrong with Leinster?
Yeah, what are Leinster doing wrong? What like remember Rob Carney doing an interview about being him and 2 or 3 other Leinster lads only in the Irish team at the time, him and O'Driscoll and Darcy, and I think there was one other I can't remember at the time, in 08 or 07, maybe Heaslip. Like, so it does go swings and roundabouts, but Leinster have been dominant since then till now, and probably have another 10 years of it. Munster went through maybe 4-year period dominance in Europe, was it?
Yeah.
05 they kicked it off, 06 they won it, 07 they were thereabouts, and 08 they won it again.
And then it changed. Yeah.
Yeah, like Leinster have been dominant in Europe since 09, really. Yeah. They've been in the last 4 at least, like.
Yeah.
You know? So, look, I don't know. It's a conversation that always creeps up, and it's always Leinster's fault, and it's the guys in Leinster, and they're doing everything wrong, and
it's always
the D4 guys to get everything. Like, they're just simply better than you, and that's just the fact.
Yeah.
You know, the fact of it is, Gary Ringrose is a better rugby player than Tom Farrell in Connacht, or Tom Daly in Connacht, even though Thomas is from Carlow. Gary Ringrose is a better rugby player than them in their position, and that's just a simple fact of it. And Chris Farrell in Munster.
Yeah, but it's taken years to build that, and you can't take it's not that these players are all better players. That's what I'm saying. You can't judge what better players are if your system is not bringing through those players. Leinster is bringing. They're sourcing, like they're in Carlow. They're looking at Carlow rugby players. They're looking at Tullow rugby players. They're looking at New Ross rugby players, Kilkenny rugby players. And they don't get out everything. And we would be the first to give out going, oh, they don't ever watch, you know.
I get that a lot, Tom.
No
one ever comes and watch my team.
Yeah, boy, this team and that's it, right? But they can't spread themselves everywhere. But if you can pull from a mass, like we have the best school system, huge school system, and it's based the same. That's how New Zealand rugby is so good. They have a massive school. Their school system is just huge. If you think the Leinster schools, they're absolutely just mental down there. They're full hackers and everything going before the games. So and it's televised on a regular basis. It's on YouTube.
Schools rugby in New Zealand is televised all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, you go look at it. It's on the highlights are on YouTube all the time now. But we have that from Leinster, but it needs to come across the board. Munster need to get a system to find like a tooth comb, go through the province and find the players.
Yeah, but they have been pumping out good lads from West Cork and that side. James Mansfield has touched on it as well. Like there are decent, really good players coming through. But then you're like going, well, why aren't they being started this week? Whereas Craig Casey, I don't know what he has to do to get a start. Like there was no reason why they couldn't have started him last week and had Connor there. You know, if mentally they were thinking it was only Leinster's second string.
But they should be looking to the future and they're not. Like Conor Murray is past it, lads.
Well, absolutely, but they can't until there's a bad issue there. I mean, it's a backroom issue. It's an on the field issue. The coaching, but I can't blame. Well, kind of put it across as you can't blame Van Graham or any of those anymore. Yeah, whether
No,
they're
it's there for
shite
years.
or their whole team just doesn't work. That's it. But there's a backroom problem. There's an issue from core grassroots bringing the players. They need more players coming in, and when they get into their academies, then they need to have a good coaching. And I think they have it coming through now. We hopefully have, whether they're the best coaching team, if they have a good solid coaching team there, which they have coming through, like with Mike Prendergast coming back and Roundtree and Liam, those players are there. They're going to come back in. The coaches are there, but they can't keep saying it's going to happen, or everything is what they're rebuilding. It's not rebuilding.
Just
rebuilding
on their
down
coaching,
there.
the time Axel was in charge, that was a very good period for Munster as well. I felt watching it anyway that when Axel Foley was in charge, it was a very good period. They had a kind of belief like what Rog has done with La Rochelle. They're all linked in together. They're playing some nice rugby. They were interesting to watch. It wasn't boring, and there was no bullshit in the media about how bad the job Axel is doing, or how bad the players are, or any of that crap. It was just they were just playing rugby. Now it's all about the Van Graham
I thought
show.
Penny. And I hate saying it, and I go back to when Penny was there, and Maddox and those. I thought, and Axel was in as the forwards coach. I thought they had serious potential coming forward. They were the first time, Johnny. That's the same period of time when they actually looked like, and they weren't winning. They lost.
No, but they looked like they were going there.
Yeah, but then all of a sudden Penny was gone, and they brought in. Then they brought in what you call him, South African. Do you know? So why change the way they were playing? A lovely kind of, you have a Kiwi there. It's more suited to the way Munster played. We're going to teach them a few new skills, and they had a good coaching system. And another year, I think, would have made an awful difference to them.
It's like, hey, this is working. Let's fix it, or let's change it. Let's break it now. Oh, now this is working. Let's break this.
Yeah, but you can't expect, and I think to our Munster colleagues, but you can't expect things to happen overnight. And just because results aren't going your way for a while, if there's development and you have a game plan, and that's how people need to see it next year.
I think Roundtree needs 3 years.
Yeah.
I really do. I think he needs 3 years to change the whole system, scrap it all, start afresh with players, and move forward.
Yeah, and stop looking at Leinster.
Yeah, stop trying to play like Leinster.
Do your own
thing.
Trying
to play it against them.
And stop
play your own
having
brand.
this. But stop having this thing of looking at Leinster. Leinster are the best team there, without a doubt. So you can't expect every time. If you go play Leinster, you should be playing Leinster with throw everything but the kitchen sink at it. If you lose, you lose. If you're beaten by a better team on the day and you lose, but you lose only by a couple of points and it's a good game and you come off the field going, geez, we're unlucky.
More learning than losing.
Well, no, we're nearly there. But to have what happened last Saturday and then to have everybody disillusioned again and back, like, I mean, I went down the Munster group chat was just hilarious.
The Facebook groups will be brilliant, won't they?
To go, yeah, but there's great.
They should be ashamed of themselves, one lad said.
Yeah, but that's it. You can't go from being hyped up one week and ashamed the next week. Like, it's not about being ashamed. You have to. There's a problem there.
Don Lenihan touched on it on the telly this week. He went a bit mad about all that sort of stuff and Munster's identity lost. And just going back on the Axel Foley, I remember Axel used to get fierce grief from supporters when he was coach. I know he's
in his earlier days.
Yeah, and I thought it was very unfair. And this is not about Munster supporters now, but like Ian Keatley got a hard time down there as well. You know, he'd be the God's gift 1 minute, and then he misses 2 kicks in a match, and they lose by a point. And you know,
selling them.
Yeah,
but
get out of here,
Stephen. That's the frustration. It's not just it's a frustration that they're watching their biggest rivals get better and better and more
better.
You know, but it's like there's an awful lot of Munster supporters that are coaching in Leinster or involved in Leinster clubs, there's even lads on Leinster committees that put on a red jersey, sneak a red jersey on and go to matches. Not just me, but there's a lot of lads there. So it's just frustrating because we actually know, and we actually know what's happening, and it must be it just be so frustrated on to see them kind
half
of
of Tullow
rising.
was a Munster supporter until 2008.
But see, rising, and then all of a sudden, it's like the world has ended. I don't know.
Yeah.
Look, it won't be solved today anyway, and that's it. And just
we won't solve it anyway, Tom.
It's a good thing we're not drinking. My fears rouse.
Could you imagine?
Drink responsibly, by the way. Yeah, so looking
Don't
forward
drink
to it.
and drive.
Yeah. So the European Challenge Cup is tonight, Friday, when this is being recorded, and we're all, of course, looking forward to Leinster, La Rochelle, and of course the run-in for the URCs after that, lads. We will touch on it now. Munster travel up to Ravenhill to play Ulster, and Leinster play Glasgow at home. It's back to the RDS in the quarterfinals.
What a stadium!
Yeah.
What
Which
a place
one?
to have
Kingspan?
a game, the RDS. Friday night in the RDS. It's Friday, isn't it? Or Saturday afternoon in the RDS.
Yeah, it's great to have a match
get
back at
better.
the RDS.
Well, that's Leinster through and
Ulster.
Yeah.
Stormers.
I think once bitten, twice shy. You'd want if Munster is how would I say? If Munster are going up there, they really are going to have everything, all their ducks in the line for this one, because we said it would hurt. Teams that hurt. Ulster were very hurt. They got bitten twice. I mean, the dog didn't have a bite. He came back and had another bite. Lost to Toulouse and then lost to Munster. Not happy campers. And they are a team, and they are a team that's playing well. It is a tough place to go up to Ravenhill. So
which one will you go to now, Tom?
If you're a betting man, what?
Which one will you go to? Will you go to Ravenhill or RDS?
I won't be going to either, because the Ravenhill is on a Friday night. I have to work. I won't get back from Belfast till all hours, and I'd say you'd be lucky to get a sniff of a ticket for the Leinster match.
But you'll be in Tullow anyway, the Leinster match. You'll be at more important game.
Oh, jeez, that's right. I should then. There, you're laughing. Look, my afternoon. Johnny's writing the script for my afternoon anyway, so let's go.
I've just seen where you remember your open invitation to Tullow Rugby Club, or sorry, County Tullow Rugby Club. Sorry.
County Carlow will be coming over to County Tullow.
Tullow second coming.
Bit of crack. No, I can't.
Johnny's gone. He's disappeared off.
Johnny just had enough. He just left us. Goodbye, Johnny.
Slapped down the laptop and off he went. Yeah, anyone listening, Johnny's left the conversation. He might join in before we go, but we're probably just about to wrap it up. It's been a long old podcast, but plenty of chat in it as well.
Thanks, Stephen. It's been great.
Yeah. Good old fun.
Really great, and an amazing amount of, I don't know who actually listens to this really, but the amazing amount of people that do listen to it, and from strangers to places in the country that have come to me and said, they've listened to this, and I go, really, have you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through the magic of Spotify and everything, Tom, we've listeners in New Zealand. We've a good few listeners in America, actually. And Canada.
A few. Well, you definitely have one in New Zealand, because he gave out to me for wearing the wrong colour jersey one day. I was wearing a different New Zealand province jersey, and he wasn't too happy, so I had to change it the following week.
You can watch the podcast on YouTube, by the way, folks, as well, if you're listening to this on Spotify or one of the streaming platforms. It's been great crack, but we're going to bring the curtain down on season 1 of it anyway, and we'll return for the Southeast Cup or Southeast League in later in the summer. Tom will be following Carlow, Kilkenny and Tullow's progress as well. And of course, we'll catch up on what happened during the summer with the All Blacks, or not the All Blacks, the New Zealand tour for Ireland and everything else, and the start of a new URC and all that sort of stuff. But thanks to James Blanchfield, to Tom Crotty, of course, and to Johnny Tobin for being part of the podcast, of course, during the season. A great out local season as well, between Towns Cups and everything, Tom, and Seconds Leagues being won by yourselves and everything as well.
Absolutely fantastic. One last plug, folks. Rugby Club is open from 4:00 tomorrow, barbecue all day, and the match is on 4:45 on all the screens with flags. The the old bar and everything is done up above. There's flags flying outside, so promises to be a great day. Last plug of the year.
Okay. There you are. No butters. Tom, thanks a million, and we'll talk to you again for season 2. Good luck.
Thanks, Steve.